Children of the Corn.
Hey, Eric.
Hello.
Eric, I don't want to alarm you, and don't make any sudden movements, but right behind you is a girl with a sickle in her hand, and she's creeping up on you.
Normally I would be creeped out, but she's just a great actress, so I'm not too worried about it.
Isn't she?
Oh.
I love, by the way, that scene you have up in your background. That's one of my favorite scenes. It's just a great performance there, that Pastor Penny, that's, implied there was abuse there in the foster home, and she really takes it to him. Yeah. She's like, essentially saying, you'd be lucky to go out into the corn. No, you're gonna have to deal with me.
Eric, you almost ready?
Yeah, let me hit record on my end just in case.
Okay, cool. Are we the last one for you guys today?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. We're going to make it memorable, hopefully.
Yeah.
We won't. Don't set the bar that high.
We're just getting warmed up.
Okay, very good.
So we're here with Kurt Wimmer and Kate Moyer and Greg. Greg, man, you get to interview people at the same time, so this will be fun. But Kurt Wimmer directed Children of the Corn, and we only have 20 minutes, which is not nearly enough time to talk about how great Kate is in this movie. I don't know what's in the water, but something with child actors, young adult actors such as yourself, just been killing it between this, Lunana Yak in the Classroom, and now, Children of the Corn. Kurt, you must be a lucky man to have someone like this on your cast.
I absolutely feel that way. Both her and Elena, they knocked it out of the park. And you go into it, you don't know what you're going to get. You just have to roll your dice on who you think is best, through the audition process, which is not a thorough process. And you have to hope, because you're putting all of your marbles on an 11-year-old. I mean, because Kate is the anchor for the film. If Kate doesn't work, the film doesn't work, period. There's nothing you can do about it. So, we're putting all of our money on an 11-year-old girl to do something that most professional actors can't do, which is hold the screen and be so charismatic that they believe that a bunch of kids are going to follow her to do all these horrible things. And you want to follow her as an audience member too. It's, this is what the best actors are made of. And she's definitely one of them, in my opinion. And I was lucky, and I knew it at the time. I was at the monitor and I was like, oh, I can't believe how good she is.
Thank you. Kate,
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, Kate, could you please elaborate on how great you are on this?
No, that's okay. I think I'm good.
That said, Kate, with all the praise that Kurt's given you, looking back a couple of years ago, how did you do it in essence? Because the whole movie rides on your performance. Did you actually just put that away at 11 and just say, hey, I'm just going to go for it? Or was it just having someone like Kurt as a great collaborator to actually urge you to give like a really knockout performance? How were you able to do it?
I think it was all of it, where, as an 11-year-old, nothing really phases you as much as it would, as like an adult, where, you don't really have any fears. So that definitely made it like that much easier. But also, the way Kurt and I were able to, really work on Eden, we created her character together. Every single day we would talk about how this scene is going to impact the rest of it, just because of how she reacts in this scene. And I feel like that, we really got to build this character, and I was able to have so much creative liberty with her because of, I was allowed to bring parts of myself into Eden where, normally, you may not be able to. And I feel like that helped to, make it more believable. So thank you, Kurt.
Well, we were absolutely a team, and we were a very odd team. I mean, it's me, at my age, and her at 11 years old, but we were like, that, this in terms of not like being palsy-wowsy, but in terms of creatively, and I never talked to her 1 second, I don't think, Kate, like a child, like an 11-year-old. It never occurred to me. I always thought to her like, you're my actor, and let's do this. And we talked about it, and we really did, minute by minute, create the character together. It was a really great and rewarding creative experience.
And Kurt, you've done a bunch of writing, a lot of adaptations and remakes. Thomas Crown Affair, Sphere, Total Recall, Point Break, which I know that movie got shit on, but I love that one. The there was a bit, it really got the, I don't want to say religious aspect, but the kind of kung fu aspect of extreme sports that I don't think comes across in the original. But I guess the question is, like, when you're adapting these things, like, what's kind of going through your mind, or what are you trying to get across, or does it feel like having a co-writer of sorts with the previous writers?
Well, listen, it depends. The funny thing, to go back to Point Break really quickly, is I'm actually quite proud of that movie, but it shouldn't have been called Point Break. It should have just been given its own title, and that was what people were reacting to, because everybody justifiably, and I do, love the original, and so, and that was what people were comparing it to. And the original is one of my favorite movies of all time, as is the original Total Recall is one of my favorite movies of all time. The thing is they were making them, they were in made, so I was like, well, if someone's going to F it up, it might as well be me. But obviously I do look at what went before and how much I liked them, but as a writer, you don't have infinite control by any stretch of the imagination. And then there's other creative forces and environmental forces like budget and where they come in that start to shape the story after you do it. So, but all you can do is try your best. You just like go for it. Like, okay, let's just go for it. And you never know what's going to happen or how it's going to turn out. But and it's funny you say that, because I never think of myself as somebody who does adaptations, because I've done also many original films, like Equilibrium or Ultraviolet or Law Abiding Citizen, Salt, and on and on. And so it's funny, and I never really thought of myself as an adapter, but that's what's out there today. You can't get movies made unless it's a sequel, or it's a remake, or it's based on a comic book. They're not making original films anymore. So that's kind of what you have to do. And it's not, what my dream is, not to sort of, go back and sort of remake movies, but that's the way it is. But yeah, so I try and, keep the spirit of the original, but everyone's different, like Thomas Crown, it's presented different challenges, and they're all different. It's always it's a completely different experience, but I do my best.
Kate, I was just wondering, when Children of the Corn wrapped, in a tangible fashion, in what ways have you grown as an actress within those ensuing years? And on the flip side of that, to piggyback off that, Kurt, how great is it for you to see her growth as an actress, even after the film is wrapped? So just those two-part questions.
Well, Eden, definitely she brought out this sort of confidence in me, because she's constantly like the leader. She's leading these kids, or she's leading this town, and she's taking control. And I feel like that brought out some sort of confidence in me, because I remember when I first started out acting, I was the shyest person you've ever met. I would like hide behind my parents' legs. And I think that Eden, as the years went by, she brought out some more confidence in me. Like if I was just talking to people, or if it was on screen, it really allowed me to kind of be myself more, or be free to express myself. And I feel like Eden really helped me to grow into this new, more confident version of myself.
Oh, what was my part of the question?
Just seeing her grow even after your film is wrapped. Yeah.
I hate it. I just I don't want her to grow up. I want her to stay Eden. I want her to stay, and then I can make as many movies with Eden as I want. I don't want her to grow up. This is awful. I don't like seeing kids grow up. But listen, she's going to grow up, and she's already she's already a great actress, a really great actress. So I imagine she's only going to get better. I'm very excited for the future. But selfishly, if I had my choice, hormone injections, no growing anymore, stunt the growth. There we go.
Kate, can you do that right now? Can you? It's a director. He knows what he's doing. So.
But can I keep my straighter teeth, please? Yeah.
Okay.
I heard in an interview that you did that you guys grew your own corn for this. What happened to the corn after the movie, or did it just all burn? Spoilers, I guess.
We did grow our own corn. We became corn farmers. We learned a lot about corn. You'd be surprised, there's not as much information about corn online as you need. I mean, there's stuff that you don't take into consideration, because we were trying to figure out how fast does corn grow, because we needed to shoot when the corn was at its peak. and it's at its peak for a very short window. And we had everything had to be timed perfectly. And it's COVID and all these crazy things. And like 2 weeks before we were shooting, we were out in the corn. We've got 45 acres or something like that of corn that we've grown, and it's only up to our knees. And I'm like, oh my God, we're shooting in 2 weeks. How fast does stuff grow? And you can't find out. But fortunately, it managed to grow right there. But we burned some of it. And then we enhanced it digitally to some extent too. But ultimately what happened was they then, after that, somebody plowed it under, and then they fed it to the animals, because that was animal grade corn that we grew.
Very cool.
I didn't know there were different kinds, but now I know a lot about corn.
Kate, I have a question for you. After watching this movie, I really want to see more of your work. I'm looking at your IMDb right now. I really enjoyed Buffalo. I thought that was very underrated. But what would you have our listeners and viewers check out from your resume after watching Children of the Corn? And if they've already seen Buffalo, what from your resume are you proud of and you want us to check out?
I think there's some stuff that's coming up, I think this year or the next few years, that I am really proud of, that I hope people will get to see. One of them is called Out of My Mind. It's based on the book Out of My Mind. And I think I'm really excited for that one to come out because the story is just so great. Holly Hobby, I highly recommend. I'm a little biased because I love Holly Hobby. And I spent so much of my childhood doing it, but I recommend it if you're just looking for a really wholesome show to just enjoy. I don't know, if you like, thriller movies, you can watch Our House. I'm not trying to advertise myself here, but that's kind of what I'm doing. So,
It's fine. Yeah. Eric, can I ask one quick question? Kurt, yeah. Eric might know this answer better than me, but I remember several years ago, I always asked a favorite movie question. And I asked someone, I forgot who she was. She was a really well-known actress, what her favorite movie was. And she said Equilibrium. And then a couple of other people said, oh yeah, I love that movie. It's so underrated. I love it. Eric probably knows the answer. I still have, I apologize, I haven't seen Equilibrium. What kind of reaction have you gotten over the years? Because I'm sure that kind of reaction is very common for you as a filmmaker.
Well, it's good. This is the story of my life, but it was savaged by the critics, absolutely savaged by the critics, which was very depressing. But then, within 2 days, people actually started going to theater and seeing it and then registering online, and they loved it. I mean, people, I get it all the time. People say they just love that film. Christian's great in it. And it's got Gun Kata and Dion Beebe, 2 Primetime Oscar winners, shot it. And so it's just this gorgeous film. I'm very, very, very proud of the film because I got to make the film I wanted to. I didn't get, really any interference from the studio, which was Dimension Miramax. And so, so the reaction, after the critics got their first digs in, it was like 17% or something on Rotten Tomatoes. And, but I believe a lot of opinion's been revised since then.
Yeah, I actually guess just to follow up on that, I know what's your take on critics just in general? Like, Greg and I are critics, so we're the evil ones, and I totally understand that. But well, like with the Equilibrium, my mouth doesn't work. Equilibrium, was panned when it came out, but I watched it when it came out on DVD, and I was like, this thing's awesome. What are they talking about? But like, movies tend to get life afterwards. But like when critics kind of pan your movie at the time, I'm sure that feels bad. But what's just your overall thoughts on critics in general?
They're entitled to their opinion. I don't, I just look at it and say, am I happy with the movie? Did it entertain me? And then, but I mostly care about the audience. This is the whole point is, we're not curing cancer here. We're here to try and entertain and give people like an hour and a half of their life where they can just like forget about all the bad stuff and laugh or be scared or just be moved or think, oh, that was cool. That's what I want. I'm a movie maker in that I really first and foremost want people to be entertained and just feel good. It's the reason we love movies, the reason we go to see movies. I want when I go to see a movie and I get in the theater and I'm like, like if it's Mission Impossible 6 Fallout or something, like, yeah, well, yeah, that feeling that's so great. I want to, if I can share that with people, that would make me happy.
On that point, I think regarding reviews, Kurt, I think a lot of reviews aren't mentioning the fact that, having Kate and Elena front and center, anchoring this narrative and knocking it out of the park, it's just really rarely seen in these type of films. Can you speak to that? I mean, I know that's a story, but I think it's really cool that you have these really talented actors just anchoring your project, and both of them are still respectively young, and they're going to go off and do great things. But I think you're like ahead of the game in that sense as a storyteller.
Well, listen, as blessed to do it, and it's a tremendous risk again to put your entire film on the shoulders of an 11-year-old and Elena's more mature, obviously, but they're both great actors. But they are the whole movie. There is no movie without them. That they are it. They are it. You can have all the pyrotechnics you want and all the ideas you want, but without those characters centering you and drawing you into the reality of what they're doing, you've got nothing. And they bought it and they delivered. This is my favorite scene in the film, is at the end when they're sitting in the car together and there's no distractions, there's no props, there's no blocking, there's no nothing. It's just a 17-year-old girl and an 11-year-old girl sitting there having it out, like two actors just going head to head. And neither one of them is able to roll over each other, but they're not cutting each other any breaks either. And I think that's just amazing.
I was gonna say, should we ask the box question?
You can ask away.
Yes. So our third co-host, Bruce, is not with us today, has a box, and he likes people to put movies in the box, and then he draws one out every week and watches it. Actually, one of them just a couple months ago was Buffaloed. But what's a movie that both of you like that you think is either personal to you, or maybe it's like, more people need to see this. This is really great and no one ever talks about it. Something that you'd like to put in the box.
Well, my current favorite movie, and it has been for a while, is the first Avatar movie from I think 2008 or 9. I was born then, so I can't really speak to like all the critiques there was now, but I love that movie, and I think it's really great because I really didn't want to watch the movie for whatever reason when my parents first introduced it to me, but then it was so good, and then they have a second one. Now they're gonna have like 5, and I think that's great. It's just a good friend.
What was it, Kate?
Avatar, like the
Avatar, right. Well, I'll answer it. For me, I know you guys seen it, and a lot of people have seen it, but there's been a lot of people who haven't seen it. And it's one of my absolute top favorite movies of all time, and my family's favorite. We watch it over and over and over again, and that's Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise.
Greg.
Okay, Kurt. You know what? Do we have 20 minutes or 30 minutes? Brian De Palma is my favorite director.
Yeah.
He is very uncompromising, and he could have gone the studio route, meaning I don't want to name names, but he could have just, cash it all in, gone completely studio. Do you see a connection with Brian De Palma as far as uncompromising vision and just knowing what he wants as a visionary?
Well, he's an interesting character. His later films are just sort of a different kind of conversation. But what he did in The Phantom of the Paradise and Carrie, and then Scarface. These 3 movies, holy mackerel! They were magnificently done in every way. He just understood things about camera and drama and music. He goes way over the top with music every time, but it works. It just works. He's like, the music's chewing up the scenery of it, but it works. And but he really understood, and I talked about Carrie a lot when I was making, with my DP, Andrew Rowlands, when I was making this movie. And I talked to him because it was about what I loved about Carrie was, is that the high school scenes felt so naturalistic, and they felt, like very classic American. Everything's golden, it was, the happiest time of everybody's life, and it all just seemed so natural and innocent. And a lot of it was just sort of the lighting and, and the way he framed it, the way he shot. I've studied that film in tremendous depth, the way the shots are constructed, etc. And I wanted Children of the Corn to have that same innocence at the beginning as well. You know, everything's just like, this is a storybook little town in Nebraska with corn and kids playing in the corn. And then, but Phantom of the Paradise also is just the way the camera is used in that movie is utterly, absolutely incredible. I think it's a great story too. And obviously one of the greatest soundtracks of all time.
Yeah, Paul Williams. Eric, can I steal one more question and then you can wrap it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Kurt, I interviewed a filmmaker, writer, director, just like you today, and he talked about the vomit draft, where you just put everything you want in your first draft and you just go full bore, and then you can revise it and you can edit it. Do you believe in some sort of facsimile of a vomit draft and is that why you're a successful writer, where you just don't, you're pretty no holds barred? Okay, sorry.
No, I don't, because I don't think you should vomit. Just write all the good stuff the first time and do it right. That's what I believe. So, you know, do the good draft. Why? Well, I mean, it seems like a poor, you know, no offense on that director. Everybody has their own process, but to me, you know, just the more sustainable business model, just do it right the first time.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Kate, Kate, I have a question. Kate, I have a question. I'm 51. How do I get your confidence? Do I just have to work with Kurt, or is it more complex? Please tell me, because I don't think I'm going to get to talk to Kurt after this. How do I get my own confidence and get people up on the thing and be powerful like you?
For people. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. You find someone who's, you know, inspiring, and you adapt some of their traits, and boom, you're now confident. Also, don't think about what people think about you.
Well, what did you find interesting about Kurt? As far as a collaborator, to give you confidence, what was unique about him as a filmmaker?
Well, it wasn't like my ideas were being shut down. They were embraced, you know, where, you know, we were on set and it was like, I would say something like, oh, what if Eden did this? And he's like, okay, yeah, let's try that. It wasn't like, no, we're not going to do that just because it doesn't feel right. Like, my confidence wasn't being shot down, and my ideas, like my self-esteem was boosted because, you know, my ideas were being recognized.
Okay. Eric, you want to, anything?
Yeah. Yes. I wanted to bring up, Kurt, you get to work with David Ayer again. Looking forward to that. Love Street Kings. We just finished shooting, and Thanksgiving, David's putting the movie together now. David's a really interesting cat and really knows what he's done. He really comes prepared, you know, which I really admire. And, you know, and so, you know, hopefully we'll do another one, another Beekeeper too. We think we will after that as well. And then hopefully Children of the Corn too. Elena's gone, but there's ways to bring her back, I'm sure.
Well, there's, as I said, there is another scene at the end.
I really want to know what this is. I really want to know what this is.
The entire movie on its head. And it's a short scene. I mean, it's a very short scene, but it completely changes the rules.
And yeah, I'm just curious question, the Eden and Berlin situation. Can you guys talk about that kind of relationship? Because Eden could have just snapped her fingers like that and she would have been gone. But there's something about her that wants to keep her around. Do you think there's a respect for her, or she kind of cares for her? I just thought that really back and forth chess match was very interesting as far as the story went. That kind of chemistry.
Well, I'll jump in real quick, and that is because Bo is still a child in many ways. She's about to leave home and become an adult, right, next week. But she has her feet, one foot in both worlds, but neither one of them is really sure. Like, the adults don't accept her, and they don't give her real agency. She's still just a kid. You know, she comes into that big community center meeting, and they just start laughing at her. You know, and so, you know, in that way, and they laugh at Eden too, which is the biggest mistake they ever made. But in that way, you know, they're bonded because everybody laughed at them and their ideas. So Eden, the kids kind of give her a bit of a side eye because they're like, you're a kid, but you're kind of an old kid. You know, you know, Eden says it in there. She says, whose side are you on? You know, and that is the question for Bo. Whose side is she? Whose side is she on? And, you know, ultimately she's on her own side, or the side of stability. But that's one of the debates in the movie.
I feel like because Eden and her issues with trusting people that aren't like around her age, and she trusts Bo not necessarily because she's, you know, not necessarily an adult, but because that, and she did stand up for the corn, and she stood up against the adults who she has this like hate for. And I feel like, you know, that kind of bonded them, like what Kurt said, and she feels like she has this sort of connection with her, and she's able, I don't even know how to explain it. They just, she trusts her until she doesn't, where she tries to prove and see whose side she really is on, like when she almost, you know, kills Sheila, just to see. But I feel like that makes the dynamic more interesting because they're constantly trying to like out manipulate each other.
And the also, you know, the reality of it is, if you think about it, is, you know, one of the things that Kate Eden says throughout the movie is, you know, her byline really is, "Hi, Bo," you know, and which, you know, says from the very beginning, which says these kids grew up together. So 3 years ago, she was 8 and Boleyn was, you know, 14. She was, you know, so they've been kids together for a long time. And so, you know, it's a little weird for, you know, it takes a minimum adjustment to think, oh, Boleyn's actually turning into another kind of creature, because Eden is been accustomed to her being a child for so long. She's watched her grow up.
They're giving us a wrap-up sign. Thank you guys so much for your time. Really love the film. Eric, you want to say sign off to something?
Yeah, thanks for joining us. I look forward to The Beekeeper and Kate. And looks like it might put me out of my mind, so that'll be good stuff. And hopefully we have to talk to you in the future.
All right, Eric and Nuggets, thank you guys for having us. Also, look for Expendables 4, which I wrote, coming out later this year as well.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Take care. We love the film, by the way. Yeah.
We love that. Thank you so much.